to Business Review, a daily program that delves into the latest and most significant economic stories. From stock markets to currency news, Business Review covers the most up-to-date developments in the global finance.
From shepherds in Australia to northern Italian wool mills to New York high-end suit makers, the pandemic is having a detrimental effect on business, causing many to come up with ideas to adapt or go bust. Most people in white-collar jobs are working from home with a newfound love of sweatpants, a trend that many experts expect to outlive the pandemic that created it, and few, if any, weddings or parties are taking place. The seismic shift in behavior is having a profound repercussions across the supply chain for suits and formal wear. In Australia, the world's biggest producer of merino wool, prices have been in free fall, hitting decade lows. Many sheep farmers are in dire straits, storing wool in every available shed in the hope of a rebound. Fine wool prices in Australia have more than halved during the tumultuous 18-month period. The benchmark price for merino wool fell to $8.58, that's Australian dollars, per kilo in early September. Auction results show down from $20.16 in early 2019. As he rounds up his flock of some 4,500 sheep with the help of his dogs, Australian wool producer Dave Young says he and his wife are having to seek additional jobs to implement income and be looking to adapt the running of the farm if things continue. Wool producer Michael Field said he was not too concerned people would swing toward a love to synthetic materials as they switch to more casual wear. He's convinced of the opposite. Customers are still looking for a more natural product and does not fear for the end of his trade.
An official from China's Commerce Ministry said recent transfer of global textile orders from India to China is a normal market behavior, which reflects China's contribution to stabilizing the global supply chain. The transfer of textile orders was reported to have begun since September, as multiple major textile exporters in India were unable to promise timely shipment of these orders due to surging COVID-19 epidemic in the country. Commenting on the situation, Li Xingjian, director of the Foreign Trade Department of the Ministry of Commerce, said the current COVID-19 pandemic has had a huge impact on the global economy while severely affecting both importers and exporters around the world. Li said, in this context, the order transfer is nothing more than a normal market behavior via which importers try to offset the pandemic's impact. Li added multinationals adjust production on a global scale, and international buyers select suppliers based on production capacity, which are all normal market decisions. Almost every day, there would be some orders being transferred from China to other countries or markets for production. Li said, as one of the first countries resumed industrial production and business operation, China has potently supported the supply to the global market, making contribution to the normal operation of the global industrial chain.
Venezuelan professionals, from biologists to lawyers, have turned to making food and face masks or selling cleaning products as the pandemic further weakens an economy already struggling under a 6-year recession. Facing annual inflation of above 3,000% and the pandemic shutdown of most businesses and state institutions, Venezuelans who spent years studying to become professionals have reinvented themselves as entrepreneurs who sell products, often for hard currency, to make ends meet in an increasingly dollarized economy. Millions of middle-class Latin Americans are being pulled into poverty as COVID-19 has exposed the fragility of the region's social safety nets. But in Venezuela, the situation has been exacerbated by the country's economic crisis, which has seen 9 out of 10 middle-class families fall into poverty over the last decade and reduced the middle class to just 5.3% of the population. U.S. sanctions are piling pressure on the economy, which is reeling from mismanagement and hyperinflation. Alfonso Toro spent years writing music for television commercials and doing other jobs in advertising, but feels that the industry has died. He now makes face masks printed with the image of Rex, a fictional genetically modified dinosaur featured in the 2015 film Jurassic World. Toro says his homemade masks have gotten a warm reception on Twitter. According to the National Survey of Living Conditions, a study carried out by several Venezuelan universities showed some 43% of Venezuelan households have seen their incomes decline due to the effects of the pandemic on the economy. As an example, Ruben Benitz, the lawyer with 13 years of experience, who saw his income drop due to months of closure of the courts, started baking cakes to sell in stores.
International Monetary Fund's Managing Director and Chairwoman Kristalina Georgieva emphasized during a virtual presser that the current crisis the world is experiencing as a result of the coronavirus pandemic could be an opportunity. Georgieva was speaking from Washington, D.C. about the fallout from the pandemic and said the crisis will cost $28 trillion in output losses over the next 5 years, with growth falling to minus 4.4% this year. Georgieva called for governments to continue to support unemployed, especially women and young people, as they transition in workforce and for businesses. She also called for action to deal with debt and to build a more resilient, inclusive economy. She touted investment in green projects and digital infrastructure, calling it a game changer with the potential to create millions of new, well-paying jobs.
For one gym owner in the northwest of England, Prime Minister Boris Johnson's latest COVID lockdown is a step too far. To save his business, he's defying the government's command to close, along with dozens of other gyms in the area. Governments across the world have imposed some of the most severe restrictions in peacetime history to tackle the pandemic to varying degrees of success. The virus has killed more than 1 million people, and Europe is deep in a second wave. The measures have also pushed many companies and in some cases whole sectors out of business. Some feel ignored and are starting to push back against the rules. Chris Hemmings, owner of Empowered Fit Gym in Greasby, near Liverpool, says 50 other gyms across the area were also staying open, an open show of defiance against the British government around 240 miles south in London. Under a new tiered system, Liverpool and the surrounding Merseyside area are classed as very high risk, meaning they are subject to some of the strictest lockdown measures in England, including shutting gyms. British government scientific advisors say the virus, which emerged in China last year, is spreading fast across all parts of the UK and that critical care beds are starting to fill up in high-risk areas. But Ellaby Hemmings of Empowered Fit said the rules appeared irrational, as COVID-19 transmission was lower in gyms, while restaurants, which he said have a higher transmission rate, have been allowed to stay open. He opened the 16,000 square foot gym in 2017. In February, overheads are roughly £15,000 a month, but under government support schemes, he has been offered just £3,000. His rent alone is £6,000. The gym has consulted with lawyers about the potential enforcement of the rules.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical financial stories. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.